morning, my friends. Coach Powers, PhD, Benzo recovery expert. I think it's fair to say that now. Yeah, we'll go with that. Today I want to talk about somatic mindfulness. One of the absolute best things that I ever did for my recovery was somatic mindfulness or somatic exercises, something that I created that I called the 5 senses limbic retraining. Now, over the last decade, it has been a staple in my recovery program. And if you're one of my students watching, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You're probably practicing it every day, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day. Now, let me back up. Somatics, what is that? What am I actually talking about? I'm talking about using the body to convey safety to your limbic system, essentially. And why is this powerful? Because when you're in withdrawal, your fear is so powerful that it actually goes from a level of anxiety to almost a near constant state of panic. And at that point, when you shift from anxiety to panic, the whole game changes, guys. The self-talk and the deep breathing and all those things that you once did to kind of manage anxiety so it never gets to that level of panic, that stuff goes out the window. Your limbic system doesn't respond to that anymore in the same way when you're on a verge of a panic. Now, the self-talk, the breathing, all the attempts to calm yourself down actually only amplify the fight or flight more. Now, some of you listening right now know exactly what I'm talking about, and maybe a light bulb just came on, like, oh my God, that's exactly what happened to me. Normally, I could do these things, and it was very helpful, but suddenly, when I was on the verge of a panic, maybe I woke up in the middle of the night with adrenaline and surges and in a state of sweat and, on the verge of a complete nervous breakdown in the middle of the night, as sometimes happens. And everything you do just makes it worse, right? And you feel completely helpless at that point, and actually, it only makes you more terrified because now you're going, oh my God, why aren't these things working? Have I escalated into a place now that's even worse, that you feel like you're just sinking deeper and deeper in shark-infested waters? The game changes. Now, the limbic system uses your senses, our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, our ability to feel. That's how it detects danger in the environment. The problem with benzos is it sort of bypasses all of that, and it just hits the system with the fight or flight response pretty much automatically at that point, right? So you're already there. And the fight or flight is more than just a bunch of physiological changes that are preparing you to fight or run from the bear, right? It's a primordial, powerful shot of fear. It's nature's way of saying, I want you to know, you see that grizzly bear over there? I want you to know what that bear could do to you if it actually got you, right? And that's what plagues us more. I would say that plagues us more than the damn symptoms, is the fear. This fear as a symptom, okay, but more than the tinnitus or upset stomach or heart palpitations or the tension or the muscle twitches or the nerve pain, it's the constant state of fear that wrecks us and scares us the most, right? So somatic exercises, which are becoming more popular recently, and I think for good reasons, have a powerful way of bypassing all those normal mechanisms of control or managing anxiety, right? Like breathing and self-talk and all that. And it goes right to the senses, right to the body, particularly the body, like the sense of feeling. Somatic means muscle or body. It goes right to that, and it tries to incorporate pleasure and calmness and stillness and presence in a way that disengages from the kind of feedback loop that fear and adrenaline and hyperarousal causes. And by doing that, the limbic system goes right to the senses, says, well, we seem to be safe because they're experiencing pleasure. Nobody's ever ran from a grizzly bear and stopped to smell the roses, eat a piece of chocolate, admire the sunset, right? To get a massage. Doesn't happen. It's completely counterintuitive to your limbic system and what safety really means. So, somatic exercises, I think, are brilliant. And in my own recovery, somatic exercises was king. I spent countless hours in my hot tub or my bathtub, just meditating, practicing acceptance, bringing my consciousness into my body, and trying to reconnect that body and mind. There is a connection there. And when you're suffering constantly in withdrawal, what tends to happen is your mind and body connection breaks. And it's almost like you go running off into some dark room in the back corners of your mind. You divorce yourself from your body because the body hurts and it feels like it's attacking you. And even your mind does this. So you start to run from it and you hide, right? And of course, the more you hide, the more you run, the more disconnected you feel, the more dysregulated you become, the more the limbic system doubles down, and that more that metaphorical bear chases you, right? So somatics is the art of connecting the mind and body again to convey safety to your limbic system through your body, through pleasure, more so pleasure, right? And what I recommend, and I was hesitant to share this with you guys because I teach this in my school, and the only reason I was hesitant was because I worry that sometimes when you put out a video and you just share a technique without a lot more background, without more of a model for how does this fit into the bigger program, then I feel like it's sort of wasted. It just gets wasted. People won't understand it. They won't understand how it fits into the bigger picture, or how, and so I've been very hesitant to share this, and I've always just kind of kept it in my school or with my students. But today I'm going to talk a little more about it, and that's the 5 senses limbic retraining. That's what I have used for 13, 14 years now, 15 years now. And I've used it on countless clients and students from around the world. And I've had massive progress and success with it, right? I'm talking about when everything else failed, the somatic stuff was king. So let's unpackage this a little bit, because my approach to this is a little bit different than some of the other methods or things you might have tried. So 5 senses limbic retraining. It's all there in the name. We are going to use all 5 senses to convey pleasure to our amygdala, and therefore change our relationship with fear and help disengage that fight or flight response. Now, it is an uphill battle, and withdrawal is going to constantly keep kind of resetting. It's going to blatantly reset things over and over, and that's very frustrating for us, right? It's like you make progress and then you're back a step, and you get a few steps up and you're back a few steps. It's okay, guys. That's just part of the process. Don't give up. Don't just say, well, you know what? It's not worth it. It's not worth the good work, because then you'll just keep going backwards. It won't be 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. It'll just be 2 steps back, 3 steps back, 1 step back. You'll just keep moving backwards. It's better to kind of ebb and flow and teeter back and forth a little bit, but kind of keep moving forward. And eventually what will happen is the steps backwards will get smaller, right? Like you'll have 4 steps forward, 1 step back, right? It'll start to change on you. I can promise you that. So I want you to consider doing this practice, okay? And I would recommend you do this quite literally every single day. And here's the thing, you don't just do this practice when you're really, really anxious at your most anxious period of the day. It is not a fire extinguisher. You don't use this to put out the fire of the anxiety or fear. In fact, you're better off finding a time of your day at first, maybe for the first 4 to 8 or 12 weeks, find a time where you feel least anxious, maybe in the evening around 6, 7, 8 p.m. And what I want you to do is, if you have a hot tub, even better. That's brilliant. But most of us won't. Say you have a bathtub. I want you to fill the bathtub up with really hot water, nice warm water. I want you to maybe put some bubbles in it. I want you to put something that smells good either in the water or somewhere in the room. It could be a candle. It could be some lavender lotion that you put on. You put it on the tip of your nose or on your face a little so you can smell it. It can be some kind of bathwater fragrance, right? An incense, anything like that. You want something good to smell. You slide your body into the water, right? You feel that hot water. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to focus on that water, and I want you to change, I want you to tell yourself, this water feels pleasurable. It feels good. mean, really try to push through all the fear and the symptoms and the rumination and just find that little window, that little sliver opening where you could say, yeah, this water feels good. This water feels good. And I want you to repeat after me. If it feels good, it feels safe. Okay? If it feels good, it feels safe. That is the language of your limbic system, essentially. So you're laying in the water. I feel good. Oh, your mind's screaming at you. Well, what about this and what about that and what about... And you just gently is the key. Guide your attention back to your senses. It feels good. The water's warm. And here's the fear and it's talking over here, right? But what if you never heal? And you don't look at it. Don't talk to it. Don't engage it. It's a lie, my friends. It's a lie. You just guide your attention back to the water. Take a deep breath. You don't have to slow your breathing. You don't have to do counting breaths and breath work, but you do want to slow your breathing a little bit. I mean, be mindful of your body and just take a deep breath. Let it out. Every time you exhale, I want you to release, almost like you're becoming a puddle, a mush, right? And I want you to go right back to that water. It feels hot. It feels good. It feels safe. No matter what, you're becoming almost Zen-like. You're just bringing your attention right back to that water, right? Now I want you to take a step further, and I want you to focus on your sense of smell. And you say, something smells really good. Maybe it's lavender. Wow, that lavender candle smells so good. And remember, if it smells good, if it's good, it's safe. So what you're going to say is, wow, this lavender smells so safe. This hot water feels so safe. Next, I want you to stimulate your sense of taste. Take a little piece of chocolate. For me, it was a little tiny piece of dark chocolate. It could be anything, a piece of fruit, whatever. Put it in your mouth. Taste it. Ground yourself mindfully with the taste. Wow, that tastes good. Remember, if it tastes good, it tastes safe. And then you go, that smells. That smell is so nice. It's so good. It's so safe. And then you bring your attention back to the body. Oh, this water, it's so warm. It feels so good. It feels so safe. Now we have three senses that were directly tied to the amygdala, essentially. I mean, not literally directly, but very closely streamlined to the amygdala. And you're conveying safety to it through pleasures. Now, your mind has a role in this. If you're not careful, your mind can override the somatics and actually still drive that fear signal. In other words, you're going, no, this water isn't safe. Or you're bypassing the water and you're not really focusing on the water because you're over here still thinking about all these horrible things. Now, don't be frustrated. Intrusive thoughts will come and go. There's nothing you can do about that, my friends, right? Intrusive thoughts are just daggering thoughts that shoot into your consciousness. There's nothing you could do about that. But what you do have a choice in is, are you going to engage that conversation, right? Think of it like you're sitting there on the couch watching TV and a roommate or somebody comes up and just says, I want to talk politics. And you go, no, thank you. And you keep watching TV and they go, well, I'm going to talk about it. Okay, you can talk about it. And I'm going to keep watching television. I'm making the choice. I don't want to engage it. And they might sit there and say scary things all day. I'm not engaging it. I can't stop them from talking, but I'm not engaging it. That's the attitude you got to have here. No judgment, no resistance. You're not trying to run or hide or avoid, or you're not covering your ears from it. You're just allowing it to happen. Okay, you can sit over there and talk politics. That's what your symptoms are doing almost, right? They're plaguing us with politics about our recovery and what could go wrong, and it's a bunch of nonsense. Bring your attention back to your body. Always come back to the body, right? The somatics. The water feels good. It feels safe. The piece of chocolate tastes good. It tastes safe. This scent that I'm smelling, this lovely lavender, smells so good. It smells safe. Then go one more step. Can we add some pretty music? Some ambience, some nature, something. I don't care. It could be a sermon, right? Bring something lovely to hear. And then ground yourself in your sense of sound and your hearing. And you say, I love this sound. This sounds so good. It sounds safe, right? I want you to do this with every one of your senses. Find something to Stimulate that sense gently, not overwhelmingly, and ground yourself in mindfulness, presence, right? The three tenets of mindfulness are presence, without judgment, and become vulnerable. That means to let go, to bring down the guard, to stop with the resistance and the fight. It is just to accept. Think of it like that, radical acceptance. So it's an overlap of features here. We're doing the somatics, we're practicing mindfulness, we're practicing radical acceptance, but at the same time, we're actually building neuroplasticity, and we're doing some brain rewiring here. Because what we're doing is we're teaching the brain to link this stimulus with these senses of ideas or pleasure, right? The water feels good, it feels safe, right? We're creating a pathway from the amygdala. Water, hot water, safe, good, great. Senses, great, right? We're bringing all this stuff into play here. And eventually, like little roads in the woods, your brain will start to create pathways to these things. Matter of fact, this same process is what creates phobias and fears kind of going the other way, right? You can link anything to anything scary if you really want to. I mean, you could be afraid of the color red, right? Makes no sense maybe logically, but your amygdala has drawn that connection. It's classical conditioning, my friends. I show you a rose, I light a match. Enough times, what happens? When you see the rose, you smell the match. When you smell the match, you think of the rose. This is what your brain does. We're using it for our advantage here. So, 5 senses limbic retraining. Hit all 5 senses with pleasure. Ground yourself in the present moment as much as you can. Don't force it. There's no force. There is no force in benzo recovery. I cannot stress that enough. It is a very zen, spiritual, gentle, nurturing attitude in all of this. If you try to use force in anything in recovery, watch how fast it turns against you. You'll learn that lesson. So there you are. You're in the bathtub, let's say. Now you might go, you know what? I'm too sensitized, Dave. I can't do all those things right now. That's fine. Start with 1 or 2 senses, and over the weeks, gradually build up. If you can hit, strike pleasure to all your senses right now, certainly go for it. Again, don't do it. Don't wait till you wake up in the morning and you're fighting off panic attacks and get in the bathtub, because then what are you going to do? Think about classical conditioning. You're going to get in the bathtub and you're going to train your brain that we do all these acts as a resistance because we're trying to ward away the bear. And the brain will then associate acts of breathing and all of this as signs of resistance, therefore signs of danger. And therefore will hit you full of more glutamate, more cortisol, more norepinephrine, and it will cause you more symptomology. Right? It's very simple. When you really break it down, it's not complex in that regard. Neurological dysregulation is complex in the sense of you can't predict it. You're right. You can't really predict things, and there's other complexities there. But when you break down the sort of mechanism of the mind and how our efforts can work for us or against us, it is a more rather simple science there. So I did this 5 senses every day for about 8 weeks before it started to work. Now, that may not seem like a good endorsement. Like, what? You just told us all this? I was a very stubborn case. I had dropped, 20, 30 milligrams of Valium overnight. I had been on it 30, 40, 50 milligrams for almost a decade. I was in bad shape when I started doing this. But I kept the faith. And I would lay in the hot tub and I would practice this. And, I'd have little moments of calm, or little moments of more relaxation, but nothing nothing groundbreaking, until one day, it was probably several weeks into it, I was sitting there practicing radical acceptance, right? And remember, radical acceptance is not just, oh, I give up, just let the bear get me. No, it's the idea that by fighting back against things that I can't change, I make my situation worse. And therefore, I am surrendering and I'm having some trust, because that's what I need to do right now. And that's what I was doing. And I was breathing slowly. I wasn't counting my breath. I was just mindful of moving slow and breathing slowly and focusing on my senses into the pleasure. And then it hit me. A sliver of maybe what could almost be called a window, an opening, a beam of light seemed to get through and hit me, and it felt warm, and it felt good, and it felt right, and it felt like healing, and it felt like hope. It felt like hope. And I said, wow, what was that? And that opening now gave me something tangible to work with. I could actually work with that opening. And so I had something now to reach for, right? I had something now to reach for. And I went, wild with it. I started jumping into the hot tub 2-3 times a day, over and over, practicing this. And that window kept getting bigger, and those moments kept getting better. And my overall neurological dysregulation became more regulated. And that was the beginning of something very big for me. That's when I started. That actually was the birth of lulling, as I call it, lulling and pushing in my Benzo recovery program. That was the beginning of lulling. And I started seeing tremendous results after that. And then I started to learn how to mold that and use that with other elements, like how to tie that into exposure therapy or cognitive restructuring or exercise or some of these other areas that were really, really challenging for me. And it just catapulted my healing forward. So, my friends, it is the single best regulating nervous system regulating exercise I think I could give you, honestly. And I've had a decade or more of experience running this experiment with so many people from around the planet, and the progress and the results have been astounding. It will not happen overnight, not for all of us anyway, but stick with it, have faith, and make sure you're practicing this just the way I taught you here, okay? If you do some modification, if you go off the beaten path, if you think you're going to reinvent the wheel, you will probably fail. It will probably backfire or not work at all, and then you'll get rid of it and you'll say, that didn't work. I always call this the eating chocolate cake on the treadmill, right? If you eat chocolate cake on the treadmill, you don't get to say, the treadmill doesn't help you lose weight, right? You have to execute things in a very precise way here. Don't say, I'm just going to sit here and relax. That's not what this is. This is not relaxation, what I'm teaching you right now. It's a somatic exercise that goes right to the core, using the senses to bypass the mind. And I'll say one more thing. There's so much talk about positive thinking and cognitive restructuring, which is great, again, when you're trying to manage anxiety and keep things from reaching a certain height of panic, right? But once it tips that scale, once you go past that threshold from anxiety management to trying to ward off a panic attack, the game changes. And therefore, the more you talk, the more things you try to do, the more your limbic system in that fight or flight center is going to become wildly reactive, and things will backfire. And then you'll just abandon it altogether because you won't understand that. You won't understand that there's a time and place for these things. So one thing that you can do if you're panicking is basically do nothing. Do nothing. Do not fight back. Do not push. Do not try to... Now, think of it this way. You and I, all of us, we're in a plane. Right? I got a big 747, and you guys are all in the back of my jumbo jet, and I'm your pilot. And suddenly I come on to the intercom, and I say, good afternoon, everybody. This is Coach Powers, your pilot, speaking. And I just want you guys to know that you are safe. Right? Now, how are you going to react to that? Right? You guys are sitting there and you go, why would he say that? And then maybe 2 minutes later I come back on. This is your pilot again, Coach Powers. Just want to remind you, you're safe. There's nothing wrong. Right? Now, by the second time, you're going, now I'm not feeling safe, right? And I keep doing this. And you're panicking. The more I keep coming on telling you you're safe, the more panic you become, right? Because think of it this way. No one has ever said you're safe when you were safe. It doesn't happen. No, you've never been driving down the road and you're a passenger in a car, or you're the driver and you just turn and go, hey, yeah, we're safe. It doesn't happen. You say you're safe usually when there's the threat of not being safe. So throw that out of the window. Now, if you're just talking about cognitive reframing and you're anxious or nervous and you're just bringing down some of that, perfect. It does work. if you are panicking and you're trying to do this and things are getting worse, that's a red flag that now you've passed a threshold and we've got to approach this differently. The five senses just automatically assumes we're starting at that threshold, right? It's a more evasive or more potent approach to managing the panic or disengaging from the fear, because you're really not managing anything at that point. Now you're just talking about, how do I disengage from this fear and help my limbic system calm back down? That's all you're doing. And that is the method. You disengage, you strike pleasure to your senses, you breathe, and you go about normal, and you just trust the process that whatever goes up will eventually come down. Okay? If you have any questions about this, feel free to comment me or message me. I have 24 video recovery modules in my Benzo Recovery School, and I have a nice, really lovely video on this in the school with animations and such, and I break it down probably in more detail, to be honest. And I have just a ton of resources on this. So if this is something that you try and you find helpful and you want to know more, please reach out. Come see me. If it's something that you want to explore but you're still unsure of how to do it, or you're finding some challenges, again, reach out to me and I can help you. Otherwise, give it a shot. Try it for, this is my challenge to you. Try it for 30 days. Every night, 6, 7, 8 p.m., 15, 20, 30 minutes, make the hot bath, hit all of your five pleasures or five senses with pleasure, rather. And no judgment, guys. No judgment. No resistance. The fear can sit here and talk. It's little politics. We're not having to engage. We're not forcing our focus. We're not forcing anything. We are not forcing anything. The way is gentle. It's guiding. It's just guiding something forward. Okay? Let me know if that works for you, and keep your head up. You are healing. You will heal. And when you get to the other side, tell them I told you so, all right?
Hey everyone, I'm Coach Powers, and I'm excited to announce the launch of my new online Benzo Recovery School. The school launched with Module 1, and will have a total of 4 modules, each module with a dozen or more video lessons. Here are some contents in Module 1. This creates the basis for my recovery program. If you know anything about my approach to benzo recovery, you know I'm a bit different than other benzo coaches in that I do not subscribe to the lay and pray model of recovery. Instead, I believe benzo injury is a kind of neurological injury that requires neurological rehabilitation. This neurological rehabilitation encompasses learning how to access our good chemistry while also reducing the so-called bad chemistry, cortisol and adrenaline, and also learning how to lull down our hypervigilant limbic system. This includes learning techniques in CBT, DBT, mindfulness therapy, and neuroplasticity building. Now, I've studied clinical psychology for the last 15 years of my life, and my benzo recovery program encompasses the same things that I use to make my own recovery after a 10-year, 40 milligram Valium dependence. My recovery program observes 4 stages of recovery with 3 tiers of development. In fact, my stages are all focused on development. This makes them different than the 3 obvious stages of recovery, which include the pre-taper, the taper, and post-taper. Instead, my stages serve as a kind of developmental roadmap, with each stage serving as a bridge to the following stage. These 4 stages include Stage 1, restoring hope, Stage 2, the new beginning, Stage 3, the montage, and Stage 4, coming home. Perhaps most importantly, each stage has 3 key learning goals and also 3 key roadblocks. These stages revealed themselves to me after years of working with literally thousands of people from all around the world. After enough experience, you begin to see patterns and trends, and you see where people triumph and what roadblocks can prevent them from moving forward. Now remember, just because you may have come off your benzo doesn't mean you automatically reach Stage 4, the final stage. Again, these are developmental stages, which is why someone can come off of their benzo and still be stuck in their recovery. In fact, it's entirely possible to come off of your benzo and be stuck in Stage 1. Here are some other features the online Benzo Recovery School offers. Aside from being a school, it's also a positive focused support group. And believe me when I tell you, my students are a different breed of benzo warriors. They are wise, they are driven, and they understand the mission. I, Coach Powers, will also be doing live video Q&A weekly in the community, talking, teaching, and answering questions from all of you. There will be downloadable resources such as a rumination and exposure therapy log, templates for checklists, and much more. Additionally, there will be new Benzo sleep affirmation videos exclusive for the school, as well as new and early original content. There will be a regular Benzo blog, Benzo-related news, and even a private early screening for my Benzo recovery feature film, Lake of Fire. All of this and only for a special introductory rate of $30 monthly while time lasts. So come join the positive community and let's work together on facilitating our recovery. See you there.